Good evening. I want to begin by welcoming each of you to tonight's lecture on American citizenship to promote conversation across the university and beyond into our broader community. I present to you Imam Feisal Abdul Rauf.
Thank you. I'm here today to do my utmost, not to be a purveyor or a champion of conflict, but rather of conflict resolution, of understanding, and to uphold that very American principle, e pluribus unum, that from all of this diversity, the challenge that we have is to create a unity. We need a national discourse in America to heal the discourse around Islam, because that is the wound that 9/11 really made in the consciousness of America.
Well, 9/11 was a horrific experience for us in America, and a horrific experience for us as Muslims when we discovered it was Muslims who had done that. In fact, for the first few days right after 9/11, we were hoping and praying there would not be anyone from our community who had done that, because we had a feeling that if were that to happen, it would result in the kind of reactions that we see actually transpire.
Controversy. We want to show you this advertisement. It's stirring up all kinds of trouble for Rachel Ray. It's an ad for Dunkin' Donuts. They pulled the ad because they got complaints that she looks like she's supporting terrorism. Okay, why? It's about the scarf she has on. Let me put up this split screen with Rachel Ray and Yasser Arafat. There's a pairing you never thought you'd see.
Urban Outfitters had to pull it too, because of the presumed implications of it.
I think in general, stereotypes are profoundly problematic because they create a barrier to getting to know somebody else. Personally, I don't like the traditional Jewish stereotypes that which Jews often use jokingly about being cheap or whatever. It bothers me when Jews use them as much as when non-Jews use them, to tell you the truth.
GOP Chairman Edwin Mervyn and GOP Chairman James Ulmer, you know what they said? You know, he knows how to save pennies for the country, like the Jews. And the Jews know that if you save the pennies, they turn into dollars. And that's all that Jim DeMint's trying to do for South Carolina and the country. You know, act like a Jew.
That's one in particular that irks me.
My name is Katie Brown, and I am a Christian. Something I've learned as I've grown older is that Christianity is a religion really based on forgiveness and love and acceptance. And I think that that gets manipulated in today's world. So, like, the first thing that popped into my mind when I started thinking about that was the pit preacher. And I stopped and listened to him actually not long ago. And what he was saying theologically made sense, but in some ways, I think that some of the things that he says get really twisted and backwards as well. The way that he presents it just totally negates Christianity as a whole. And so I was standing there talking to one of my other friends who's a Christian about it, and we were talking about how if that was, like, if listening to him was actually how people perceived Christianity, and some girl who was standing next to me said that's exactly how people perceive Christians, and just walked away. And so to me, that's just, like, really frustrating, because that's not at all what the religion stands for.
As long as you embrace your truth to the exclusion of other truths, then I think real dialogue is impossible, and real relationships are impossible. The danger on the other end is sort of a wishy-washy, I'm okay, you're okay. And you need to find somewhere in the middle where you can believe with some real conviction about where your values lie and what's important to you, but at the same time accept the fact that other people can find that same meaning in their own paths and in their own communities, but without watering it down to sort of oh, we're all okay, because you know what, there are some things that are not okay, and you need to be able to identify what those are as well.
I don't know that ultimately, like, religious pluralism would ever possibly be completely true for the whole world. I think that you can be tolerant of other religions for sure, but I think that no matter what religion you are, you're always gonna probably believe that yours is right and the other ones aren't right. Like, I feel like you can't believe one religion and believe in others. And while that's not what religious pluralism is, I feel like to a certain extent tolerance comes with believing in something.
I think religious pluralism is about finding your own authentic religious expression, and exploring that and deepening your own sense of meaning in that, while at the same time encouraging those around you to find their own authentic expressions, whether it's the same as yours or something different, and appreciating the integrity of each individual's religious path.
Honestly, I think there's more crossover between different religions than we all know. There's definitely more crossover than I know. But I haven't had too much experience with any religions that are really, really different than Christianity.
So this is the 3 Cups of Tea community dialogue. It was something that was started up earlier this year by a group of about 10 to 15 student organizations. The idea was that we wanted to get a group of students together talking about issues that are relevant and important to our lives on campus and our issues that are going on in the national and international communities.
America used to be called the Great American Melting Pot, such that, you know, you come here and then all of a sudden we're all the same, like we're all equal, it's great, like fondue, we're all cheese. And now, you know, people are like, well, it's not a melting pot, it's a salad bowl, because you have these unique different parts that are all a part of it, and it creates something that's whole, but there's no homogenization, there's no melting, there's no need to somehow change who you are in any way, and yet you can be part of something larger.
There's a reason I'm that you're a Christian. It doesn't mean that we can't get along or that we don't have fundamental values that are still the same, but we're still different.
We must leave a space open for differences of opinion, and make sure that the coercive powers of the state are not used to push one religion to the detriment of another, or to push one interpretation within a religion to the detriment of another. This is what we mean in America by the separation of church and state.
You have people who are very, very different, very diverse in different ways, and you can learn from that diversity, and it's not necessarily that we were all created to be the same.
It's difficult to sort of like give yourself up and like really let yourself be engrossed in conversation with people you don't know. So like I feel like for me it's really testing me and pushing me. And it's kind of motivated me to think about, so like, how can we build this network of students that's really like engaged with one another, feels comfortable with one another, and eventually going to start like having conversations that are incredibly powerful and meaningful.
We do tend to focus on like Islamophobia, but along with Islamophobia, there's also a lot of people who just want to know about Islam.
No, we have more responsibility to educate ourselves, and that we shouldn't put the burden on the people.
It's important for us to have a sober, rational, political discourse, because if you fan people's emotions, you can create some very socially divisive aspects, and God knows we don't need any more social divisiveness.
And part of that comes from interacting with people, you know, like something like this, where you're now sitting with a diverse group of people. That's why we have these conversations, right? Like, so you can be able to have a start.
We don't really know what can happen, what can come out of these conversations, but like it's pretty clear that this is an opportunity that a lot of people are interested in, and that could potentially be extremely generative and positive.
It's in the process of getting to know each other. You develop relationships, you develop friendships, and out of that will come also the recognition of the important arenas in which we need to work together. You'll be surprised by how much such gestures not only break the ice, but make people get to know each other better.
You can't be indifferent to somebody you know. If you're going to make assumptions about them and stereotype them, it's very easy to keep them at arm's length and have them continue to be the other. If I'm going to relate to the other person, it has to be a relationship between I and thou, not I, it. Because if I lose sight of you as an individual, and I take you as a means and not an end, an it instead of a thou, we can never actually connect, because I'm not appreciating who you are, and stereotypes get in the way of that.